Hello, Express Entry Law private Facebook group members. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, coming to you live today, this beautiful October the 2nd, 2018 afternoon. And if I turn my screen just a little bit here, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning. There you go. Look at what we've got sitting on top of that power box there outside our office. You guys can see, let's see if I can point on my finger, right there. It's snow. There is snow officially sticking around. Now, in the beginning, we have snow that falls down and melts, and you can see on the street that's the case. But you know that winter is very, very close at hand when the snow lands and it actually stays. So that's the case we're dealing with today, and I had no desire to ride my bike this morning. So welcome all of you that are watching on YouTube as well. I've got a few questions here that were asked by some of my YouTube listeners, which is great. That group is growing. I think we're over 10,000 subscribers now, which is awesome. I just realized that I printed off all of your awesome questions, and I've got to go grab them from the printer. But while I'm waiting, and as other people are logging in to watch this EE Live Q&A session, I want you to comment on where you're listening from. And many of you guys are probably wondering, why the heck does Mark always ask us to comment where we're listening from? Well, there's two purposes. One is it lets me know how far reaching these EE Live Q&As are actually going. And two, it's a little way to do a little technology test to see if my audio is working, which actually this is the second start for this video, because the first one, I forgot to turn my mic off again, or I should say turn my mic on. So that is now going strong. I think everybody can hear me, which is awesome. And so I'm just going to slip over and grab those questions, and then I'll be back in a second. But post your comments below where you're listening from, and then I'll give you guys a shout out, and that's my little technology test for you guys to make sure that yes, this is live and it's not some pre-recorded video. This is really live, guys. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I'm set, and I've got a lot of really good questions today right here. And so we're gonna power through those here in a little bit. And I was gonna have a guest on today, but the guest unfortunately was not able to join me. So we will put him over until next week, and then hopefully he'll be able to join us. While I'm listening for you guys, I'm actually gonna go to my own screen here and see if I can see this video live in my own timeline. And I think I should be able to. And there it is, my ugly mug jabbering away there. So I found it. All right, so we've got Syed already asking questions. Political asylum. Nope, we don't deal with that, Syed. All right, let's see where you guys are from. So we've got Bushra from Spain. Very cool. Welcome. Abid from Pakistan. Guillermo from Washington, D.C. Syed is from Pakistan. We've got Bangladesh, Tamid. Salem is from the US. Awesome. Thanks, guys. This is great that you're all here joining. So what I'm doing right now is like I said, I'm just kind of social proofing. One, helping you guys realize that I'm really a live human being. And for all of you who have booked consults with me, you'll realize that the same view that you get right now, this is live interaction, because this is the exact way that I do all of my Skype calls with all of you fine folks all over the world. We've got Mary in Perth. Welcome, Mary. We've got Jasmine in Jeddah. Very cool. Look at you guys. This is awesome. And we've got Ralph, my favorite client of all time. Thanks for tuning in, Ralph. You always pop in and say hi. Ralph is a permanent resident of Canada. And Ralph, you must be getting pretty close to citizenship too now. So any day, you're going to be at the stage where we can submit a citizenship application for you. So very cool. Okay. Well, today I decided that I was going to talk about a few different things. And one of those things is why hire a Canadian immigration lawyer? Well, you could even, well, I'm going to stick with that because I believe there's a distinction between immigration lawyers and consultants, and I'll leave that discussion for a whole different channel, not on this one. But the ultimate question comes down to, why should you hire a Canadian immigration lawyer? And in fact, the question really is, with all of the resources out there, why would you waste your hard-earned money to hire someone like me when you can just do it yourself? So let's dive in for fun here and take a look at our own Facebook page, okay? And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. I'm gonna go on and it is officially shared. I'm gonna blow this up so that you guys can see the whole thing. Actually, my ugly mug is kind of blocking off a little bit of this screen. So I won't make it quite as big so you can still see me, and then I'll enlarge this one over here so everybody can see. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back out of this and I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna search our group and I'm gonna type in consultant, because people internationally have no clue the difference between an immigration lawyer and a consultant. And so they often will just type, should I hire a consultant? And it kind of bothers me a little bit because what it took for me to become a lawyer was astronomically more than what it takes someone to become an immigration consultant. But once again, that's a separate discussion. So let's do a search here and let's just see what comes up. See what kind of questions or dialogue is asked. Okay, so this one, DC Sab says, I thought of hiring a consultant, but don't know whom to choose. Can I get West done on my own, or will it be from the consultant account? Please advise. And so let's see some of the comments. Okay, Sri says, if you can't do it by yourself, best ways to do it with Mark. Okay, awesome. That's very kind. So lots of people have had a chance. And then what does Mark charge? Blah, blah, blah. And then I actually, oh yeah, this one I did respond and said send an email to Charlene. Okay, that's fine. So then we go through here and this person here, Banu, says contact Devinder Singh. And Devinder Singh is just another member of our group. He's not a consultant. He's not a lawyer. He's just someone just like you guys. So obviously Banu feels like it's just as good to contact Devinder as it is me. Okay, so here's some other questions. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, what's the best blog website for reference with regards to the whole process of EE and PNP? Don't want to give a single dime to consultants. I love this one. This is my favorite. Okay, just scrolling up to the top here. I don't know if people actually look at these banner pages. I created these deals of the week so that people would actually know what I'm offering. And so we have 119 members, but Express Entry Law, called Law because an immigration lawyer is the founder of it, but yet people will come in and use the group. But in case of, if we scroll down here to Mr. Harry King, who I'm assuming is not his real name because that profile picture is also, I'm assuming is not him, but who knows? Apparently he works at Nacho BC and at YouTube. So I'm assuming that that's not his real profile. Anyways, he says, I won't give a single dime to consultants. And so I put here, because I'm sure maybe he doesn't clue in who I am. I agree. I wouldn't give a single dime to consultants either because I would hire an immigration lawyer. And then Shinu says, if you don't want to give a single dime to consultants, then it logically follows that you shouldn't use resources that consultants have put up online for free, such as the group that you are on, which is hilarious, right? And then I responded, great point. However, remember that this group is run by an immigration lawyer and not a consultant. And so anyways, it's absolutely hilarious. And then Addie chimes in here. And then other people are looking for referrals to consultants, okay? And for as many people as say, hey, I'm looking for a consultant, and other people that respond, you don't need to, you can do it yourself. I thought I would just take a minute just to talk to you fine folks out there about the realities of Express Entry. So, can you do your own Express Entry application yourself? That's the question. And the answer is absolutely, 100% you can do it yourself. I myself, as an immigration lawyer, make a living off of helping people, sharing my knowledge, although I do a lot of free stuff. And I would wager that there's no one out there in YouTube land or anywhere on Facebook or anywhere in social media generally that's doing what I do in terms of sending out free information regarding Express Entry. But what you have to realize is that if you go searching for answers, you can probably find most of them. Some they're just not out there. The only way you know is by actually filing applications or the past experience. But generally speaking, a lot of the information is out there somewhere. But the challenge is sifting through all of it to know what's correct, what you can trust, and what you can't. The government website is pretty good. It gives you the information that you need, the basic information to file, but it cannot protect you from yourself. In other words, if you are applying and submitting your own application without specific guidance or direction, you're having to trust yourself that you're doing it right. And a lot of people are able to do it, to submit their application, to get it approved, and it's fine. And if you go online and you see all of these people, especially the ones that say, oh, it's easy, I did it myself, you don't need any assistance, everything's on the government website, there's no issues. Well, that's all fine, but here's two main reasons why I want to tell you that it's actually worth your time to consult someone like me. And I don't care whether you think this is self-serving or whether you think that Mark's just trying to line his pocket once again with all of your hard-earned money, but the reality is twofold. One, for every person that posts, it's so easy, you can do it yourself. I want you to know that there's probably 3 times as many who have tried it themselves, become frustrated, or they've tried to do it themselves, submitted their application only to have it returned because they missed something. Now, you guys have to understand something. The comprehensive ranking system scores, it is highly, highly unlikely that they're going to go down. Highly unlikely. So the lowest score this year has been 440 points. So I want you to imagine a scenario, and this is something that I see a lot. And with 119,000 members of the group, consults all day, representing people with express entry, I can tell you that I've got experience and I can speak to this point. But for all of those people who get it approved and everything goes well, the people that struggle never ever post in our group. You will not see anyone in our group posting, oh, well, I shouldn't say anyone. Some people do. But a lot of people will post and say, oh, boy, I made this mistake and now it's cost me my future of coming to Canada. Well, they just don't do that. But what they do is they call me and they book a consult and say, Mark, I made a mistake. You're an immigration lawyer. Can you fix it? Can you help me? And there was a time when I could do that. But now with Express Entry, the way it's designed, there are certain things that I can't fix. And one of the things that I can't fix, guys, is that the comprehensive ranking system is not going down. So let's say you're a person who is sitting on 440. You get your ITA and then you submit your application. It's easy. Anybody can do it themselves, right? But you didn't realize that you failed to include a police clearance from a country that you'd lived in. Or you didn't get the police clearance in the way that you were supposed to from the government and they refused it. Or your reference letter was missing something critical that you needed. And IRCC, they're kind, they're generous, they're loving. The officers genuinely care about you. So they're not just going to refuse your application. They're just going to return it as being incomplete. So what does that mean? It means that you go back in and you have to resubmit your profile into the pool again. Well, normally that's not a big deal, right? Wrong. Let's say the comprehensive ranking score that you had, 440, let's say it never drops down to that level. And anyone at the 430 level knows this. I've got clients. So you submit your application, you get an ITA at 440, you make a small little mistake, and then it's returned to you. And then you go to put it into the profile and it never comes down to that level again. So what's the consequence of a small, simple mistake? The consequence is you lose out on your opportunity to ever come to Canada. And unless something changes within Express Entry, your dream of coming and immigrating it's shattered. It's gone. And I don't mean to be over dramatic, but guys, I'm the one who receives the calls from people who've made mistakes. They don't post online. So there's this false sense of security that it's easy and you don't need any help. So at the end of the day, guys, I want you to understand when you hire me or my office or another immigration lawyer, if we screw up your lives, if we make a mistake on your application that costs you the ability to immigrate to Canada, can you imagine what the Law Society for Alberta, which I'm a member, or British Columbia, or Ontario, what those law societies, what they're going to say to the lawyers? We could literally lose our practice, our ability to practice law. And I'm not talking about just immigration. I'm talking about all areas of the law, my literal livelihood myself. And the law societies take these things seriously. Now, one thing I will point out when it comes to hiring a consultant, the regulator for consultants and the oversight body that oversees complaints against consultants is completely and totally ineffective. There is no disincentive to other agencies and consultants, for example, in India or Pakistan or wherever, from taking advantage of people, from doing crappy work, and from actually destroying people's lives. Hey, Mark's charging $2,500 Canadian to assist with a representation of an express entry application. Then I get a response, oh, that's so much money. I can't afford that. But then they hire an agent in their own country that charges $1,500, $1,000 less, with no protection, no assurance they know what they're doing, and then their lives are ruined. So I want you guys to understand that one, you have to be protected from yourself. And so sometimes you don't even know when you've made a mistake, and the consequences are astronomical. And two, when you hire an immigration lawyer to help you, you're actually passing over the stress and the pressure and everything onto that lawyer to make sure that things are done properly. And if they're not, you actually have recourse if there is negligence on your file. So those are the two main reasons why you hire an immigration lawyer. Why does Mark do this EE Live Q&A every week? It's because the Law Society tells me that I can't say I'm an expert, and I never would, because you have no meaningful way of knowing who's an expert and who isn't. But what I can say on here is ask you a question, fire away if you have a complex issue, and I will answer it live. And so you can judge for yourself whether you think Mark Holthe and Stringham LLP, who he's a lawyer with here in Alberta, actually knows what he's doing, and he's worth trusting with your hard-earned money. When you have so many choices out there, I created this to show people what I know, not to try and create some slick infographic or any fancy video to, with amazing graphics and tremendous design. Like, this is raw, guys. This is me talking in front of my computer. So I know I've spent a lot of time covering this, but it's important because, for one, my name goes on the application just like you guys do. And I have to work unbelievably hard to develop any kind of respect or relationship with the government of trust, because it's full of crooked cheats, people who are scamming. It's just terrible. And so this scuzzy industry, I'm trying to hold myself out as someone that people can actually trust. And that's the reality. So anyway, so that's where we're at, guys. I wanted to just answer that question because it's one that is popping up consistently all across our Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And does it irritate me a little bit when people recommend other consultants? Yeah, it does, because of the hours and hours that I put in to build this group. And I can never figure out why people will be willing. And I'll also qualify one other thing. My regular rate is $5,000 for permanent residence. And I decided I was going to drop it down to $2,500. Well, the reality is, you'll see if I show my screen right here. I'm going to share this with you and close that and go to here. You'll see at the very top is where I have the deal of the week. Well, this one here is coming to an end. So at the end of today, I will be changing this banner. I'm no longer going to be offering the Express Entry step-by-step guide for 50%. I'm actually going to change this, and I'm going to open it up one last time for full representation at $2,500 for that week, and then it's going to be done. Then I'm going to be moving back to my regular rate of $5,000, and I'm not going to return to it, because I found that people who want to hire me don't care how much money they're paying. They just want me to represent them. And those that are looking for a deal will always look for a deal. So I'm going to make that change, and you guys are the first to know about it. All right. This is great because at the end of the day, it's helped me to see who really cares about what help and service I provide to people, and who are just here looking for, well, I don't know what. Anyways, so let's jump into the listener questions before I spend too much more time blithering on about something that's near and dear to me. I haven't even talked about the distinction between an immigration lawyer and an immigration consultant, but I'm going to leave that for another day. Okay. Those of you who've stuck around, you guys are going to be rewarded. All right. So, and you know what? I'm gonna answer just 3 of these questions. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I have about 10 written questions today. But those of you who've been so patient and are still hanging around here, I'm going to answer 3 questions, the first 3, and then I'm going to leave these for another day. And I'm going to answer your questions because you guys are my faithful followers who are watching this live and actually care about this group and what we are trying to accomplish. So first question here, this one's from Sakina. And Sakina says, first of all, I want to thank you for your valuable help. I have one question, and once again, I keep forgetting here, guys. All right, so this one, I better make a note of the time. So this one's at 20:40, okay? So Sakina says, first of all, I want to thank you for your valuable help. I have one question concerning job experience. I've been working with the same company situated in KSA for 3 years under the same knock, yet the first year it was online. I was in Morocco, but I was fully paid. The last 2 years, I'm working in the company after I got my residence in KSA. Guys, the world is global. It's virtual. I do all of this work. Think about this. I represent people all over the world, and we communicate just like this. Everything is filed electronically. The world is virtual. So Sakina, with your work experience, it doesn't matter where you're actually providing the service. Even if it was provided remotely for the first year, that's okay. As long as the reference letter of the company is compliant with IRCC requirements. And we've talked a lot about that in the past on this, but for those who are new here, if you want to know what the letter needs to look like, or really anything, go to EEIRCC completeness check. And that right here, guys, will take you to the information. If I'm to search for work, it'll take you to work experience, and then it will tell you here under work experience exactly what the letter needs to look like and what needs to be contained within it right here. So I won't take time to go through that, but you can find that yourself, and that will give you the information that you need to have in your letter, Sakina, and that you should be just fine. So good question. Okay, this one here is from VJ, and VJ says, can you please explain to me about this category in level of education column? So this is under the study history and getting points for education. 2 or more certificates, diplomas, or degrees. 1 must be for a program of 3 or more years. So he basically says, does this mean high school and a bachelor's, or does it mean a bachelor's degree plus 1 more year or diploma? And the answer, VJ, is the second. So when it's talking about 2 or more, this is referring to post-secondary education and not just including your high school diploma as that other diploma. Okay, so your main one has to be at least 3 years or more, and then another one that's at least a year. Okay, great question, VJ. And the last listener question here is going to come from Tane. And Tane asked the question, so 23:14. Tane says, hi, Mark, thank you for your awesome guidance. I have a question related to proof of funds. I have a bank account under my wife's name. Do I need to be included as a joint account holder or as a nominee for proof of funds? Okay, Tane, the reality is your spouse coming with you? If your spouse is coming with you, then that letter from the bank and your wife as a dependent in your application is enough. You don't need to be put on as a joint account holder within that account. But I often will include a letter from the spouse confirming that these funds are to be used for the settlement of the family in Canada unequivocally, and just emphasize I'm accompanying dependent, so I'm going to be using them myself. So that's a great question, Tane. All right, you faithful listeners, I'm going to take these ones. I'm going to set them over here and have them for another, another time. And now I'm going to go right back to our group right here. And you faithful listeners, I'm going to go and I'm going to answer your questions right now. And once again, this is live, folks. So these are the questions that people are asking me about Express Entry who are watching live and are now posting them. So I'm going to pull this up here so that I've got the page. There we go. And I'm going to scroll down to the first question starting now. Okay. Okay, so Priyanka says, I know that feeling, Mark. I'm a lawyer too in India. Good point. All right, fair enough. Okay, Razib says, during my landing, do I need anything else except, actually, I'm going to pull this over here so I can keep it centered as much as possible. Okay, there we go. Okay, during my landing, do I need anything except my passport, confirmation of permanent residence, and proof of finances? Nope, that's it. Obviously, any family members that are coming with you, you'll need to make sure that you include their information there. Obviously, you've got your passport, or you never would get on the plane. But you need your confirmation of permanent residence, and make sure that you are landing before your visa expires, and then your proof of finances. So that's exactly correct. Okay, Zulfikar says, sir, any possibility with CLB7? I'm going to answer, unless you already have Canadian work experience or you're working in Canada, no, you need a minimum CLB9. You need to be able to really maximize the skill transferability factors that can only happen when you have a CLB9 combined with foreign work experience. And that's mostly what you guys will maximize your points with. Education and then foreign work experience combined with a CLB9. So that's a good question. Okay, Busher says Quebec Express. Okay, I'm going to skip through that one, Busher, because I'm not dealing anything with Quebec immigration here within our Express entry. So actually, do you know what? Okay, I don't want people to think, oh, Mark's a one-hit wonder. All he knows is Express entry. So let's see what your question is. I'm eligible to apply under the Quebec program. Okay, great. Just wanted to know if I get permanent residence through Quebec, and while I am in Quebec, can I or my spouse apply for Federal Express entry from Quebec just to move to any other province with the status of already having permanent residence? Okay, Bushra, Canada has a Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and one of the charter rights is freedom of mobility between provinces. So you never ever want to be in a situation where you immigrate to Quebec, but you never ever set foot there. You never ever give it a shot. And I always tell all my clients, and other people can advise whatever they want, although there is no legal requirement to stay in any province or to be able to move to another after you've landed, I always recommend that you give it a chance. You do the best you can to make it work there. But there is no restriction. You don't have to reapply under the federal program to move from Quebec to another province. You don't. The reality is you have full ability to move wherever you want to. But if you are coming in and saying landing in Vancouver with no intention to ever go to Quebec, that's a whole different situation, and it could unravel your whole permanent resident application. And that goes the same for someone, let's say, for example, Canadian experience class, who is saying that they're going to land and live in Quebec because Quebec doesn't participate in the traditional federal express entry program. They've got their own programs. Okay, good question. Okay, Razib says, I'll be traveling by myself. You're good, my friend. You're good. Bassett says, hey, Mark, how much are my chances of getting a PNP with 420 CRS score? Bassett, it's not based on your CRS score. The Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program does pull people out at a certain level like that. So I shouldn't say it's not based. Some provinces do, but generally speaking, there's other factors that they look at, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to qualify independently to the provinces through their provincial nominee programs when you don't already have a connection with them. Okay. Priyank says, does a person need to provide source of funds even if they are in a bank account for 6 months and more as my income was low? Well, ultimately, I'm assuming that you received a gift deed earlier than 6 months. If there's a large amount of money that's been posted into your account and your bank letter, really the obligation for you, what you need to provide isn't bank statements. It's the letter from the bank on the letterhead describing the average balance for the past 6 months, including your information, contact information for the bank, when the account was opened. So that's really all you need. And so there isn't strictly a requirement for you to provide bank statements. There isn't. But if you have any concerns or you want to be thorough, there's nothing preventing you from doing that, or even explaining where the money came from if it didn't come straight from your savings if your income is low. Okay. All right. Okay. Jasmine says, actually, I mailed you a couple of days back. I wanted to opt for your gold plan. Since my CRS was too low, I got a reply from your office saying there isn't much you could do and asked me to opt for PNP. Okay, Jasmine, we'll need to talk about that because I don't think you probably misunderstood. When it comes to the various PNP options, yes, we can go through and we can look at them. We can look at your qualifications. We can assess. But the reality is which ones work for you, it is entirely specific to that person. And that's where I do paid consultations. So, but you can see you wanted to opt for the gold plan immediately. Well, I never ever want people to engage me, give me the money, unless I know they're actually going to have a chance to qualify. So that's the reason, Jasmine, why I always book a paid consultation first so that we can go through it. I need to be paid for the time that I spend, and that's where the consult fee comes from. But I make sure that it's effective and efficient so that we can canvass your options. There might be things that you hadn't considered. And I want to make sure that in that consult, we've looked at all of your options. And if there are no options, I tell you. I don't want you thinking that you have false hope, that you give your money to some of these crooked consultants and agents out there who give you the impression that you're eligible for express entry, but in the end, you're only eligible to submit your application into the pool with no hope of ever getting an ITA. And also submitting applications and paying them to file permanent provincial nominee applications for you. And the reality is you don't even have a hope of getting drawn through those provinces. You might be eligible to submit an application, but it's a completely wasteful process. And this is another reason why hiring an immigration lawyer is actually useful, and why I wish the federal government would recognize the value more that we do in helping to screen out people who don't have a chance of qualifying. It's no fair to those people, and it's no fair to the government to have to process applications that are doomed from the very beginning or don't even have a chance of qualifying. So I hope that you book that consult with me, Jasmine, and then we can look at everything and see exactly what works and what doesn't, and whether you don't have a chance. But when it comes to comprehensive ranking system scores through the general express entry, I look at those closely. And if people are not at least at a 430 level, then I don't want to consider filing that profile for them. Okay. And Amul says, I have a 1-year diploma in database design and development. Can I use that to my profile? I have a master's degree though. If I can use that diploma, then what is the procedure? Should I have to do ECA for that too? Okay. I can't tell if this is a Canadian education. Any Canadian education doesn't need to have an ECA, but everything else must have an ECA if you want to claim points for it. So if you want points for your master's degree and your 1-year diploma, NMO, you need to get an ECA for both of those. Okay. Okay, Pete, how do I inform IRCC of a visa refusal not mentioned in my application? This is an example, Pete, of where filing an incomplete application is actually going or could result in huge ramifications that you never would have intended. So as a lawyer, my job is to protect you from yourself. And in your case, Pete, it is not easy to inform them. And they look at all of your application, they assess it, and they do not technically give you very many opportunities or really an ability to notify them if you've answered incorrectly. Because remember, when you answer those questions, have you ever been refused a visa in those statutory declaration questions? At the end of the application, you actually go through the process of confirming that 100% the information you've provided is complete, accurate, and true. And so, Pete, the only options are to try to do a case-specific inquiry to make sure you list your file number and very clearly disclose everything you can and upload it. But there's no guarantee that that will be matched with your file. There's no guarantee that they will catch it because, well, it's entirely up to the government, and they can be ruthless. And any misrepresentation can result in a 5-year bar from applying to immigrate to Canada or applying for any temporary visa. And they're ruthless. They don't care. They just expect that you're going to do things properly. And when you hire an immigration lawyer to help you or someone to actually give you advice and direction, I ask those questions. We clarify them carefully. I make sure that my clients truly have not been refused. There's no miscommunication. But when you're doing it yourself, once again, something so small, Pete, can result in your application getting returned. So for you, case-specific inquiry is pretty much all you can do, my friend. Good luck with that. Okay. Ololadi says, please, what's the minimum IELTS band score for express entry? Ololadi, it's the minimum to get into submitting your profile is just a CLB 7 if you are outside of Canada, which is basically 6s across the board with IELTS. But to actually have a chance of immigrating to Canada and getting an ITA, you need to have at least a CLB 9, which is 8 in listening on the IELTS and 7 in everything else. And so without that, the likelihood of getting an ITA coupled with high education and at least 3 years of skilled work experience, all those things are going to have to all come together to give you even a chance. Okay. Annette says, we're living in Canada from the US on work permits. My husband has been working full-time with an approved LMIA, Lima. So the labor market, so LMIA is what it should be. I love Lima. That's awesome. So labor market impact assessment. He can qualify for the federal skilled worker now, but just wondering if it's better to wait for a year of working in Canada for Canadian work experience class. Which do you feel is better, quicker, with less issues? It all comes down to what you can prove, Annette. So going through your whole background, is it difficult to prove all your prior work experience? Are you going to have trouble establishing or proving the evidence that you're required for the federal skilled worker program? Depending on if you have a job offer, I don't see if you do right now. You may have proof of funds issues. And so when you wait for a Canadian experience class, generally speaking, your points that you need to accumulate are not as high because you get the 35 points for Canadian work experience, and you have possibly your spouse went through maybe school, I don't know, or maybe they're an intercompany transfer or an NAFTA professional, I can't tell, Annette. But there's a lot of different factors, and it's hard for me to tell you which is the best without really knowing your situation. So it's really up to you. If I can prove things, I don't wait. I just go forward and file the application now. I don't care if I don't have the 1 year of skilled. And in all honesty, like you've indicated here, I guess I should have read it carefully. If you're waiting for the CEC, that means you don't have the 1 year of skilled work experience yet. So it really just comes down to your background and how easy it is to prove what you need to prove. And if certain things are more difficult, then CEC might be better. But if not, I always proceed forward with the option that's in front of me right now. Because maybe your score, I don't know what your CRS score is, but maybe your CRS score is only at 440 or 441. Well, maybe in a year's time, it's going to be 450. That's the minimum, and you don't qualify anymore. So this is a lesson for everybody. If you have an opening right now, a pathway forward, take it. Don't wait. Go forward and take it. And then if circumstances require you to pursue another path later on, it's not the end of the world, but take whatever's given you. Okay. Joshua says, how close does my job have to be to me to my field of study to count for the express entry application? Studied photojournalism. I need to know if a job will count even if it's not journalism, because I learned about a lot of other things in the program. Okay, I'm not quite sure, Josh, exactly what you're looking for, but this is a classic example of going to the YouTube channel. So in here, I've done separate videos on different things, but I'm going to share my screen with you here quick, and I'm going to go to my YouTube channel. I'll just go right here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so if you go to YouTube and then go to the Canadian Immigration Institute, let's see if I have it here. I have to see if I can log in. Oh, this is the other one. Good old YouTube. Okay, let's see. Sign out. There we go. Now we'll see if I can. Okay. Boy, why is this so difficult? See, now you guys get to see the fun of Mark here, who is definitely not technologically advanced. Let's see if it's this one. Maybe it's this one. Come on. Hooray. Yes, it is. Hooray. Okay, so let's go to my channel. Okay, I probably could have just searched it, but it would have been messy. So anyways, this YouTube channel right here that I have, guys, if you look, all these videos that I do are all posted up here. And so, I didn't do a fancy one here for this one, whatever. So if you go down here, you'll see I did some special videos, tip of the days, There we go here. One of the tip of the days is right here. I'll pause it. And it's basically, does my education here need to match my work experience? And so I copied this, and it seems like I do this for most of our actual EE Live Q&As. So I'm gonna just put it right here into I'm gonna put the link to it right in the comments so you can check it out. And yeah, so you can watch this and listen, but in short, when it comes to understanding whether or not your education has to match your work experience, the answer is no. And if you watch that video, you'll find out soon enough that all you have to do is show that you meet the minimum requirements that the immigration regulations prescribe, which is that you are performing a substantial number of the main duties for that position and all of the activities in the lead statement, which that's on the National Occupational Classification System's profile for the position that you're trying to claim points for. And as long as you have met at least a substantial number of those duties and you've met those things, education, the requirements that are listed for education don't apply. Now, obviously, if you have work experience as an astrophysicist or a rocket scientist, and all you have is high school education, then you're probably going to need to provide a little bit of explanation how you're qualified to do that. An officer may ask questions, but the law doesn't require it. All right. So good question. Okay. Let's go back here and keep trucking down. I've got a few more minutes here to answer you guys' questions. Let's see. I've got some hellos and some other things here. I got to make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay, it's entirely possible that I may skip some of your questions, so I apologize. Okay, okay, here we go. I think I'm right. Okay, so Amira is the next question. I tried searching online, but I couldn't get any right info. I had applied for my spouse PR, and the file was in Mississauga. Now it's in Delhi, and we haven't heard anything since 2 months. Do you recommend to apply for visit visa? No, I don't. Amira, you just need to be patient. Remember that 6 months technically is the stage at which 80% of the applications will be approved. And when they're moving these files around, it's because they're trying to accommodate for program integrity factors. Essentially, certain countries have higher rates of fraud. And if there are, then they're going to be sent to local offices or officers that have particular expertise to review documents to make sure that at least to the best of their ability, that they're identifying people who may have been misrepresenting in their application. And obviously, Amira, you're caught in this situation. You're someone who's done things properly, who's followed the law, has done everything that you need to do, but you're caught in this world of people who are cheaters, scammers, and because of that, some countries have a lot longer processing times because of those high rates of fraud. All right. Another reason to hire a Canadian immigration lawyer. All right. Razib says, is it beneficial to have as much money as possible with me during my landing? I've heard there won't be any tax on the amount of money I will have with me during my landing. Is it true? When you come through, no, they don't tax your money. But all you need to do is satisfy the proof of funds and then proceed accordingly. But when it comes to the cross-border issue with tax and money, I highly recommend that you seek advice from an actual tax professional, because I don't know all of the rules. The officers at the border, when you're bringing money through, whether it's cash or whatever, you have an obligation to disclose any amounts of $10,000 or more. But when it comes to the actual tax implications, I recommend that you seek advice from a tax advisor, and that's not me. Okay. Zulfikar says, sir, my profession comes in occupation demand in Nova Scotia. It requires minimum CLB. Do you consult me? Zulfikar, there's a lot of different factors. Remember, it's one thing to meet the minimum eligibility requirements. It's another to actually qualify. But 100%, you're in a great position. If you have an occupation that's on the list for Nova Scotia, and you have the minimum language, then absolutely, I assist people with those applications, hands down. I would be happy to represent you. You can just, I think all of you guys have seen, I've posted it many times, but my actual website for the firm that I am a part of, Stringham LLP, has, let's see, I'll post it right here. you can just click on the link that's in the comments below that I just posted, and that will allow you to book a consult with me. So very cool, Sofakar. I hope that that's something that will work for you. Okay, Jasmine says, thanks, Mark. Now it's clear to me. You bet, my friend. Okay, Susan Cowie says, Mark, I received a notice of interest from the Alberta government in my EE application, but my work permit has expired. Oh, and now my LOA is over. Do I have any hope without a job offer with LMIA? You really don't. I'm so sorry, Susan. Yeah, it's the timing of everything is so important. It's so important. And so when you have a situation where you're running out of time, yeah, it makes it so difficult. So unless you have an LMIA to revive that, then it's going to be really, really unlikely. So thanks so much for your question. And it points out something that a lot of the listeners really need to understand is that timing is everything. And you need to take every bit as much time as you possibly can to get things in place as quickly as you can. But you can't control these notifications of interest from the Alberta government. They really don't even tell us who they're targeting. We don't have that data. But when it comes, you have to be prepared to be able to act. So I'm really sorry about that, Susan. Okay, Bassett says, Mark, if I hire you as my immigration consultant, please, immigration lawyer, how can you assure that my case would be success or 80% chance? It's pretty simple, Bassett, because I will review it. I will make sure that you qualify, and I won't submit the application unless I am 100% confident it will be approved. It's as simple as that. If I have a doubt or a concern about your work history or some other factor that's going to result in your application being refused, then I will tell you. I will not represent you if I don't believe that it's going to be approved. I just don't do it. Great question. Okay, Suprit says here, I'm planning to apply for PR for my sister. She has a bachelor's and master's in economics and a bachelor's of education as well. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this one here, Suprit, is it's more than I'm able to answer in the context of this EE Live Q&A. So when it comes to options and whether or not someone can qualify and those kinds of things, it really has to go via a paid consultation. So I'm sorry, but in these circumstances, at least when it comes to our comment section here within the EE Live Q&A, you need to direct it and actually book a paid consultation, and then we can look at everything. Obviously, 400 points isn't enough for the express entry general provisions, and then it comes down to assessing whether or not there might be a PNP that might work. Okay, but good question. Okay, Malika says, my employer has refused to include salary and benefits in my reference letter. Can I show my salary slips and appraisal letters to show the salary structure along with bank statements? Absolutely, Malika. Those are excellent things to include. That happens a lot. Sometimes companies won't put the salary. And so each of those things that you've described, salary slips, appraisal letters are basically, we call them your performance reviews here in Canada. But yes, those are totally fine. And any promotions or anything that you get, raises, etc., that show the salary structure are perfectly fine. You can only do the best that you can. And bank statements work as well because it shows the money being deposited. Great question. Okay. Okay, Razib says, if I'm carrying statements from banks instead of cash during my landing, that's totally fine. Make sure that the conversion rate of those funds from your home currency will equate to the right amount of Canadian funds for your proof of funds. So make sure of that one. Mauricia. Oh, hi, Mauricia. She's one of my moderators. To what extent can you make changes to your application post-ITA? Mauricia, when it comes to that, it all comes down to what we call the A11.2 guidelines, or the 11.2 is a section within the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, which dictates to what extent applications can change, or at least the profile information can change when you're filing your EAPR without negatively impacting on your ability to apply. And the place that you go, if I Google this, and I'll just open up a new one so everybody can see. So if you type EEA 11.2, well, immigration works too, it will take you to the government's policy on this. And so it looks like Canada Visa has jumped ahead of the game there. But this is it right here. And it will give you the circumstances in which you can make changes. And essentially what it comes down to, and I'll copy this. See if I can, oh, it's doing weird things to me here. I think we've got it here. And we go back here. I'll post it into the comments, hopefully. Paste. Oh, that's a lot. There, that's a big one. Okay, anyways, this here will allow you to go and see. But the short answer is that as long as the changes you make would not affect your comprehensive ranking score to the point where you would be below the amount needed to get your ITA in the first place, and provided the changes you make do not impact on your eligibility for one of the federal programs, in other words, the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Canadian Experience class. As long as those things are not impacted, then you have you do have an ability to make changes and explain. But it's not always that cut and dry, but generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at. All right, great question. Okay, guys, this has been really good. I think, let's see here. I'll zip through a few last ones and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, Mary said, I'll send you an email. You bet, Mary. We'll reach out to you right away. Manal, hello. And okay, Manal is asking about the photo requirements. Basically just follow the instructions. When it comes to electronic photos, there isn't any specific size per se. It just has to meet the requirements that is listed in your personal document checklist. So just click on that little radio button and then it will give you instructions. Supreet says, I'd like to book a paid consult. Do you apply for PNP as well? Yeah, Supreet, we do. But like I said, the consult, the most important part is just assessing whether or not you actually have a good chance of qualifying. And here's Raj. Raj, hello, my friend. Would you suggest that I get, let's see here. Raj, we know each other. Would you suggest that I get another gift for my mother tomorrow and the deed for that? Would that work? Rajdeep, it really depends on what's easiest for you. As long as you track your funds, and this is a continuation of some questions that he had asked me earlier today, it all comes down to being able to track those funds. And yes, when you're moving from cash to documentary proof that where that cash has come from, it's not always easy. Ultimately, getting a gift deed completely from your mother is totally fine, and that's something that you can do. There's no problem with that, and that might be easy too. But regardless, it's whatever's the easiest for you, my friend. Great question. Great question. All right, guys, we are going to call her. This has been a really good EE Live Q&A today. I appreciate everybody who's been a part of it, who's asked those questions. I dedicated a lot of time this time to the people who actually came and watched live, which is really cool. Just as we wrap things up, I want to point out just a couple things. So guys, remember this one right here, Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. That offer that I've got in the banner image, and if I go right back here to our site, go back here, you guys can see it. At the very top is everything that you need to know to access this. So 50%, it's going to come. I'm going to post up here. This is actually going to be coming to an end. It's going to take a day. So probably tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll post on here. I'll just make a little modification. It will come to an end tomorrow. And then I'm going to replace it. And I'm going to put back up the full rep for $2,500 for one last time for 1 week until next Tuesday. And then that's it. And then the fees for full representation are going to go back up to $5,000. All right. So there is the latest and greatest for all of you fine folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the questions as always. If you'd like to leave a question for me, all you need to do is to send me an email right here to mholthy@stringham.ca. And don't forget to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and then you could get your questions answered as well. Have a great day, guys, and we will see you again next Tuesday, same time, same place, noon Mountain Standard Time, right here on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. Take care.